Hello, welcome to the Cosmic League, episode 12. I am joined here with Connor.
What's up?
What's up, buddy? Welcome to the league. Welcome as my Star Wars expert, who somehow knows more about Star Wars than I do. My name is Dan, I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about mainly the new Star Wars movie, Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. And I didn't want to do this podcast right away because, A, we got out of the movie theater late, and nobody wanted to record me because no one wants to drive 40 minutes to my house to just to talk about shit at 11 o'clock at night. But other thing, too, is I wanted to, kind of watch some reviews, hear some different opinions on it. So, kind of form an opinion. I'm actually going to go right after this and watch it a second time. I would have liked to have done this right after a second viewing to kind of think about it a little bit, but just not going to work out time-wise if I want to get this out this week. But I think what we're going to do for the first few minutes, we're going to do a quick, what was your thoughts, a spoiler-free, and then I'll make sure to announce it. We'll announce it, but we're going to go right into just talking about everything about the movie and kind of our opinion on how everyone else is reviewing it too. So, Connor, you were with us. We watched it together. Yeah. What did you think? Without getting into spoilers, what was your overall feeling?
Spoilers. I was skeptical going in, seeing all the mixed reviews on it. After seeing it, I thought it was really great. A good way to wrap up the series, even though there's still some holes left that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they fixed some of the plot holes from The Last Jedi and wrapped it up real nice.
Okay, so you were happy with it.
Yeah. I was happy with it.
Because nobody else is. I watched everyone I follow on YouTube. Because there's that thing, you come home, you want to talk about it. I'm all amped. I've been into Star Wars since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, there was just the original trilogy. We didn't, and that's all you had. And then some books and stuff. And then one of my good friends growing up, Halstead, he was, even more into it than I was. I was more of a Star Trek kid. But, all you would have is one book that said, Darth Vader got messed up by falling in a volcano on, in the Clone Wars. And then you're like, what's the Clone Wars? And you would go to the appendage and it would just be a war. And then you're like, oh, cool. Clones. Yeah, they don't tell you anything. And then I was in high school when the prequels came out. I think I was a freshman in high school when Phantom Menace started. And, but I enjoyed them all, and I have to say too, Star Wars is one of those things that seems to have a different opinion over time. When they come out, there's always a lot of back and forth on it, and then later people kind of switch their opinions, like Phantom Menace, and then or the prequels in general. And now people are like when I meet people that are younger, in their early 20s, who grew up with the prequels as already kind of being around, they kind of oh, I love the prequels. I don't like whatever X. I don't like this about the new movies, the Disney aspect of it. But
I love the prequels. I think that the Phantom Menace is kind of a garbage movie, but at the same time, so much good came from that.
Yeah,
Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, etc. So much good came from that, even though I still think it's a bad movie. And Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith are two of my favorite Star Wars movies.
You like Attack of the Clones?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I had to just watch. I always the movie I watched right afterwards. I don't know why I felt that's the one I needed to watch right, immediately following. But I remember when that movie came out, there was a lot of do I like this movie? At the time, I was younger, not that it really changes much, but I was totally into it. But I remember hanging out with my brother, who's 11 years older than me, who actually saw Star Wars, the first Star Wars in theater. And I remember him being was it good? I don't know. It was too much politics. A lot of politics and stuff in the old movies.
Yeah.
But it kind of works towards and I have to say my biggest observation with all this, and I think this is a very common criticism of the new movie, is you could tell there just wasn't a plan for all of them. Or if there was, the Rian Johnson kind of derailed that. A lot of people putting a lot of blame on him. You enjoyed The Force Awakens?
I liked The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and
I thought it was a general consensus that everyone liked The Force Awakens until recently. I've been talking to people since Rise of Skywalker came out, and a lot of people that I've talked to said they didn't like it, and that shocked me. I thought it was great, even though it was basically a copy of A New Hope.
Yeah, a lot of criticism that it was a rehash.
It was a little bit, but at the same time, I thought it was a good movie regardless.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was amped. There was definitely a lot of it was very coincidental. They leave the planet and immediately see Han Solo, and then they immediately find the Falcon, or they find the Falcon first, and then immediately find Han Solo, and then a lot of that kind of reveals. I think Star Wars is pretty good for that in general. And then Last Jedi, Episode 8. You like that one?
My first viewing of it, I was very disappointed because I expected something else. My second viewing in the theater, I liked it a lot more because I didn't go in with those expectations, so I could just watch it for what it was. But there was a lot of things. I liked the movie overall, but there is a lot of things that I dislike about that movie.
Okay. And did you think the new movie was a good sequel to that? Or a lot of criticism that it had a deal. A lot of people have been like, well, they had to deal or fix or course correct what happened in
I do think they had to fix a lot or make up for what Rian Johnson left open. I mean, I think J.J. Abrams did a good job. I don't think anyone else could do a better job to do that. I mean, you were saying before how the prequels were super political. I kind of feel like the sequels that we're on now, they're all kind of just adventure quests.
Yeah.
Like, which I'm not opposed to, but it seems like each one of the movies is like just going on different adventure quests before you get to the actual plot.
Yeah, so without going to spoilers, there's a lot of fetching in the new movie. Kind of like
Last Jedi too.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That was exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say Last Jedi kind of did it too, like which had that kind of like now I think more infamous casino scene that even people I know, like I like The Last Jedi a lot. Like I feel like I'm in a minority with that, but even I don't like that casino scene. Like I remember even that like coming out of the theater, like, oh, this was a pretty good movie. They did a lot of cool shit. It was different. But God, when they got to that casino planet,
even to call it a casino scene is an understatement. That's a casino hour almost.
Yeah, because they get
40 minutes something.
They get to the planet. Then there's like I remember because you like on your Instagram story you're making fun of like them landing.
Yeah.
On they're like you can't land the shuttle here. Like when they first get to the casino planet. I think Gordon Levitt is that alien. The one that complains about it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, from Batman.
Yeah.
Batman,
Gordon Levitt.
Rise of the Batman or whatever with Bane. Gordon Levitt from Third Rock from the Sun. But yeah, I guess he does the voice for that alien. Like I can't park here, But they do same thing like Simon Pegg being like the Junker dude in Force Awakens.
And how they always have stormtroopers. They had Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper.
Yeah, at least with the stormtrooper stuff, like it just sounds like it's just through a filter.
Yeah.
But like when they do the alien voices, like they completely change.
Yeah.
Like they modulate it, so you can't even tell. But yeah, like they get to the planet, they try to meet this guy who like, oh, this guy's gonna be cool. You never see him. Benicio del Toro plays a different thief.
Oh my god, I forgot about Benicio.
Yeah, he has like a different funky thing.
He was actually great too.
I like this character. Yeah. But they get there, they find the wrong guy to get locked up, and then they go through all that. Then they break out, and then Rose is a bleeding heart space liberal basically, and it's like, no, this planet sucks. It's all slavery, and then those giant horse things. Then they free those, and then there's a big running through the city, and you're just like, which is all fine if this was like an episode of a Star Wars show I was watching where they're like, look, war, man, but back and forth, it's all money.
Yeah, if that was an episode, the casino scene.
Yeah, like a Clone Wars
then
episode.
I would be like, okay, it's a filler episode type thing, but being dead center in episode 8 was frustrating.
Especially when the background plot was just them inching away from a dreadnought or a Star Destroyer or whatever, and just like trying to stay out of range until they run out of gas. Like it's like the slowest chase scene in Star Wars history. Like, which again, I don't care. Like I'm fine with it. Like it doesn't bother me. I can understand like the impending doom. Kind of reminds me of like the first couple episodes, like the Battlestar Galactica remake on Sci-Fi Channel, because they're just like running and they're right behind them. But yeah, to kind of like in the middle of that, like you don't have any better plot. Like Rey could have been training for an extra 20-30 minutes in the movie, and kind of deal with that whole aspect of the education of the Force, or just learn more about the Force, to hear Luke talk more about it. But no, we just get Rose, who's so dramatically like just hijacks so many scenes in this movie, in that movie, and Last Jedi, that to the point where, and not to get into spoilers, but she's not really in the new one.
Not really. She's there just to kind of be there because, like, hey, we had this character, she's there.
Yeah,
that's about the end of her role.
Yeah, like
her impact.
You see her, and then she's just like, I can't hang out with you guys.
I gotta study.
Yeah, and then that's it. You don't see her. So, but so you could tell there's a lot of that, and but yeah, I think you said it right. Like, who could have done a better job? I think it was one, they were pigeonholed a little bit into a situation where like, what do we do? How do we get out of this? Especially with like the death of Snoke and Last Jedi and stuff. Where maybe that's not what JJ was going for. You know, maybe.
I mean, I don't know if the right word is saying that JJ had to fix these problems or just kind of deal with them or run with them. But, like, the Snoke thing, the Rose issue, because nobody really liked Rose.
No.
But she was a main character,
I was
main
thinking
player in that movie.
I was thinking that when I was in Target yesterday doing some last minute Christmas shopping, and there was a lot of Rose pop figures, and I was thinking like I should just buy everyone to know a Rose pop figure because no one likes her.
No one wants that,
and it's something against the actress or anything.
It's just
her character, and then she's just kind of
and
whiny.
She had such a big part in The Last Jedi, and her and Finn had a romantic thing when they kiss, and then this movie, it's just
they don't really go into that.
They don't really touch it,
they kind of
at
that.
all.
No, that's like even when watching Last Jedi again, right before I saw the new movie, and you get to that scene where Finn, when they're on the rebel base towards the end of the movie, and the First Order shows up, and they have this like mini Death Star tech thing that's like basically a ramming space cannon that's gonna crack the door, and they're in those like skipper things, and they're trying to like, I don't know, buy
on
time.
The planet with the red like smoke or whatever it is.
Yeah, everywhere. Like there was like salt on the ground, and there was like red dirt underneath.
Yeah.
So like as they're moving, they're creating those red trails. All very beautiful. You know, like one thing about all the Star Wars movies, none of them are shot badly.
Yeah.
They always have this really beautiful aesthetic. But you know, then Finn goes in for the like sacrificial, like I'm gonna crash right into it and break it, which is probably the only time in Star Wars history that they can't blow up a super gun very easily. And she just like comes in at like 1,000 miles per hour and like sideswipes him to stop him from sacrificing himself, which is crazy to me because I'm like, you could have just easily killed him doing that because she hits him so hard.
Yeah, she T-bones him.
Yeah, she just fucking straight up T-bones him. He crashes. He comes out of it. He's fine, surprisingly. He goes to her. She's a little more worse for wear. And then he's like, why'd you do that? It was going to be so cool and be a great arc for my character. And she's just like, we don't, you know, what does she say? Like, we're not going to win by destroying what we hate. It's by whatever, loving what we, I don't know, love, or like, you know, like be more positive than negative. And then she kisses him. And then Finn just gives her this look like, what the fuck just happened? And then I almost just watching it again, I feel like she passes out like purely out of like anxiety. Like she's just like,
right after the kiss.
Yeah, like embarrassment. She's just like, I'm out. No, I'm asleep. You know, and he's just like, because in the new movie they don't ever bring it up.
No.
But all right, well, let's get into the movie. So real quick, if you had to just give a quick, I don't know, what do you want? An out of 10?
Out of 10
for the new movie for Rise of Skywalker.
I've been thinking about this for a few days now, and
a preliminary first impression. We have the right to change our minds.
I would say an 8.
You give
8
an
out
8?
of 10, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, an 8 out of 10. If I want to be super critical, maybe like a 7.5, but really like, between 7.5 and 8 it's a solid movie.
Okay. I'd give it 7 Jawas out of 10.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why I say this is because, and I want to make this point before we skip to the spoilers, is no Star Wars movie is good. Like, I had to keep explaining this to people over the last few days, and they're like, oh, there's this problem, that problem. I'm like,
they all have problems.
They're all problematic.
Yeah.
Like, they're space wizards, laser swords, you know, Star Wars. In fact, I think the ones that have the least problems are the ones that aren't the normal trilogy. Like, they're not the episodic ones. Like, I love Rogue One. I think even Han Solo, you could, like, bitch about that.
I thought Solo was actually a lot better than Rogue One.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You know, that was that same thing. Like, I watched it, and then I'm in the theaters. I'm like, okay, lot to process. Been Star Wars fan my whole life. Lot to think about. And then when it came out on, like, home release, and then I watched it again, I was like, you know what? This is actually a pretty fun movie. You know, and I didn't even hate it right the first time. I was just, like, more critical of it. And then watching it again, I was like, this train scene is awesome. I love the robots. I like the breakout they do.
The big Darth Maul reveal at the end.
Yeah, Darth Maul.
Which, if you're a Clone Wars fan, you're like freaking out about, like me.
Yeah, and this was something I was saying to you before we started recording, is that a lot of times, like, another complaint about the new movie is like, well, this flies in the face of expanded lore, like, in the books or Poe's backstory or whatever. And I'm like, listen, man, I've been saying this my whole life. It's not canon if it's not in the film. Like, you can put... Like, when I was growing up, I was a big Star Trek guy, and there's a lot of Star Trek books, and, like, you know, same thing, like, a lot of expanded lore where they explain, oh, no, this is what happened, or this is what you didn't see, and I'm like, you know, it's all good and fine to think that, and it makes you feel good when it's, like, published by the company, but it doesn't mean shit until you see it in the movie. And so, like, when Darth Maul was in...
I think when we saw it together, right when Darth Maul came up, I, like, leaned over to you and I was like, I told you, bitch. Like, it's canon. It's canon now.
Because now he was in the Clone Wars show,
Yeah,
right?
and that's why he had the cyber legs, because he has those in Clone Wars and Rebels.
they do the slow reveal too, where you see the foot, and then in my head I'm like, who could that be? I'm like, there's only one guy in Star Wars I can think of has robot legs.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, it is Darth Maul. All right. Sadly, we're not gonna get probably a sequel to that anytime soon.
I know. Wish we would.
They should do a show. They should go.
Yeah,
they're doing all the
Plus,
Disney Plus shows, so that'd be nice to go into that.
Yeah.
I felt like the new Star Wars movie kind of led. I heard Thrill will talk about it in a second, but there was like some changes in the plot and the cutting room floor that kind of made it seem like there's a couple of things that weren't really finished storyline wise. Then I'm like, I wonder if they did that so they could do a Disney Plus show.
They did leave some things open ended in the new movie, which gives me hope that they'll make another one, even though they said that they're done with Skywalkers.
That's why I'm hoping with the Disney Plus, like what they're doing with Marvel, like what they're doing with the TV shows. That's where you're gonna get your expansion.
Yeah. Or even like a little Rey series for after Rise of Skywalker.
Especially with Rey. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into it. Right. So if you're listening to this, we're about 15, 16 minutes in. We're about to go into spoilers because that's the only point to talk about. Because you can't even talk about this movie without actually talking about what fucking happens in this movie. So, all right, this is your chance. Turn it off. Fumble. Don't crash your car. All right, and spoilers. Boom. Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker. Shit was crazy. And, I'm like Kevin Smith on this where I'm like, as long as I see something new and crazy, I'm pretty much happy. Like, I don't need to freak out about anything. But we got the return of Palpatine. We got a bunch new characters that were a little extra. Didn't need them. We had some changes. We had a lot of retconning to Last Jedi. But, the first thing I want to start on is everyone's talking about this retconning, right? You got Last Jedi. It goes up and down with who likes it, who doesn't like it. And in this movie, it seemed like they spent a lot of time making up for it. Just like a road trip where you end up getting stuck in a McDonald's for 2 hours. And then you get back in the car and your dad's like, we got to fucking move. Because this movie, when it starts, it just fucking goes. The opening crawl to this, like
is Palpatine's back.
Palpatine's back. He's talking shit. He has a podcast. Everyone hates him. Because
he's got a cult, too.
He has a fucking cult, which I'm not sure if it's real or it doesn't it's not real or it's spirits or...
I wasn't sure on that either, but it was like a few thousand of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Angry Joe review, and he hated it. Basically, everybody I watched on YouTube hated it. And he kept calling them like Sith sympathizers or something like that, like a cult of Sith. Like people that aren't actually Sith, but they're Sith because they follow the religion to a degree. And I'm like, I'm not even sure if they were real. Like, I got to watch it again when we go today.
If they were spirits, but...
That was my immediate reaction.
It seemed real because at the end, you see everything falling on top of them. So
crushed, right?
I would assume they're real.
So let's start at the beginning here. Movie starts. We got an opening crawl, and Palpatine's back. They don't got any fucking time to waste. Palpatine's back. And I've seen people complain about this. But I'm like, all Star Wars movies just kind of start at some random point. Like,
they just throw you into it.
Like Episode 3. Episode 3 just starts, and it's Grievous kidnapped Palpatine, and they're trying to get him back. And you're like, who the fuck's Grievous? They got Palpatine already? And at that point, you could have watched, like, the Clone Wars shorts. Those the animated, the 2D animated ones. They came out before that, where Grievous was, like, super badass and fighting everybody. And at the last second, Mace Windu kind of gets him in the chest, and he's like, oh. And then supposedly that's why when this movie starts, Grievous is just like, and he's all shitty and sucks at fighting.
They do that in the new Clone Wars show too. They explain why he talks like that.
Is the new Clone Wars show a sequel to the old Clone Wars?
I believe
the
it's
2D one.
Like basically they said forget about the old Clone Wars, and then this is what's canon now. Even
in its own like world of like, here's the Clone Wars, here's Clone Wars a few years later. They had to retcon their own TV show from a few years later. Because the first one was the guy did like Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab, right?
Yeah. You could see that style,
which they adapted in the CG 3D animated for the Clone Wars. So anyway, same thing. Starts, Palpatine's back. He has a message out, and Kylo, I guess, is just pissed that he exists.
Yeah. And
goes on this big search to find him because he's like, I'm gonna fuck this dude up when I find him. Gets not holocrons,
not Sith holocrons,
Sith wayfinders. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about because we were just saying this. It's not canon until it's fucking in there, and I would love to have seen a holocron in any of the movies. And every time I think they're gonna do it, they just don't fucking do it, which kills me. And for anyone that don't know, a holocron, there's a Jedi one, there's a Sith one. The Sith one's like a triangular. It kind of looks like the way the Wayfinder looks in this, and the Jedi one's like a cool looking Meeseeks box looking thing. And basically, it's like, that's like, what is it? It's like the diary or the teachings of whoever owned it, right?
Yeah.
Like Qui-Gon
would have had one. The Sith or the Jedi, And it's basically their teachings.
Yeah, so it gives all their information, their diary, like, hey, this is what's going on. And then you were supposed to pass it down. So it's like if you're, it's late night, you're at Jedi camp, you want to go over your logs, you would open this up.
And there's like the ways of the Jedi and the ways of the Sith and like the lore of them also, that they put everything into it.
Yeah, it's like we had it in Carta 95 back in the day. It's like are you too young for that in Carta?
I was 2.5.
Yeah, when the first computers came out, everything wasn't internet based yet, and there was a computer encyclopedia, which was amazing because otherwise you had to go to the books, and it was like Encarta 95 and Encarta 98, so it was like just like a digital encyclopedia. So it's like that. So you got the first digital version of the Jedi and Sith encyclopedia. So Kylo finds one of these, gets it, plugs in, which is crazy to me because a lot of people complaining in the reviews that they were able to plug these things into their ships.
I mean,
of all things to bitch about,
you're looking too close into it at this point.
I can't believe they could just connect it. It's like, why?
I mean, it's basically it's a Sith GPS.
Technology in this universe hasn't really changed in like 3,000 years. It's like still just ships. It's still lightsabers. It's still like no one.
Still anti-gravity.
Yeah, this isn't Star Trek where Star Trek is always trying to one up the technology. Like this is like the biggest advancements of technology is that Death Star got shrunk down. They were able to make the Death Star
and the tracking of the light speed.
Yeah, and that was a huge story element.
Thing, yeah.
They were like, wait, no one could track your light speed, so that was the big Last Jedi thing. So Kylo finds it. He goes right to Palpatine. He goes right to what I thought was a really awesome
Hexerus or something. Hexagon? Something. I don't know. So you guys will figure it out.
The Sith home planet.
Hexagle, maybe.
Yeah. Exegol, yeah.
Exegol, yeah.
It's like Exegol.
Yeah. Testicle, something.
That's the problem with like Star Wars movies, especially new ones. Like I don't know any of the names of anybody yet. But like I could pull up a list, but then I'm just dictating. But so he gets there. The Sith planet looked awesome, super dark, super awesome looking. We watched it in 3D, which I was really annoyed by because I really hate 3D movies.
Some nice lightning and thunder. Yeah,
really dark. He goes in there. Palpatine's in there.
It was a little confusing for what he walked into.
What do you mean? Like the room?
Because he walks under what it almost looks like a floating ship.
It's like a big
floating... Kylo walks in to find Palpatine, and it's like this big floating, almost rock-looking thing with lightning like all over.
Like a temple that's kind slightly of above the ground.
Yeah, it's like a floating temple, but I was a little unclear of
that.
Looked
awesome.
It was cool, though. Yeah, it was badass.
I kind of thought it looked a little bit like the Jedi Temple from Coruscant that you see in the prequels. It has that same kind of shape, but this was like way bigger and blacker. Yeah. But so it's like a giant... kind of like parallelogram,
spooky looking,
with like a little. I mean, it looks like a little space. It's not. I mean,
you just walk under.
Not huge. I mean, not. It's big enough for people to walk under. But then there's a platform in the middle. The platform goes down. Looks awesome. It's like a big floating elevator, and he gets down there, and then he's underground for a while.
See the test tubes of Snoke.
Yeah,
of all the clone Snokes.
One of the big first complaints with a lot of people is that Snoke is a clone of who the fuck knows.
Seeing the Snoke's body in the clone thing almost made me. My first thought was, okay, maybe it is a clone of Plagueis, even though that's kind of been debunked already. Because they do look alike, and he had clones, so like, oh, maybe he saved his DNA or whatever and cloned Plagueis. But I think that's probably been debunked.
Yeah. So
like, who was Snoke then?
Yeah.
If he cloned him,
like, how come the clones had the same like messed up faces too? Like, is he just cloned to look like shit? So,
yeah. And who'd they clone him off originally?
Yeah. So a lot of people had a problem with this because when Kylo speaks to Palpatine, who's like kind of a zombie, he's hooked up to a giant machine,
and people thought that. I've been hearing people say that Palpatine was a clone, but then why was he all busted up, missing fingers? That's why I don't think Palpatine was a clone. I think he just survived the crash and the explosion and everything.
Yeah, so, and then this is classic Star Wars shit, where you kind of have to, like, people want general, like real explanations, and Star Wars is pretty shitty at giving explanations, and it's why a lot of people get into the fandom, like, well, in the comic or in the book and stuff, whatever. So, but I got this feeling... Because when Kylo speaks to Palpatine, he's like, I've been every voice you've ever heard. I was Snoke. I set you.
Vader.
Yeah, I was Vader. He basically is saying that, like, I set you up and I've been like manipulating you your whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. And then my way of kind of like reading into it, without really reading into it, without getting crazy, is basically like, Palpatine, I don't think he really survived the fall or his death in Return of the Jedi. I think it was more like, his body was recovered and his like Sith spirit or a Sith ghost or whoever knows how he did it, just repossessed the body. Like they put the body on like a big because he's attached to like a very large robot looking GLaDOS
that
like,
looks like it's keeping
arm.
him alive.
And his eyes are glazed over white, like he's dead.
He's blind,
and his skin looks like shit. His hands are all fucked up. So I think it was actually him, like it was his body, and I think they just kind of like the Sith people that work for the Sith recovered it, hooked up to machine, turned it on, brought the body back to life, and enough for the spirit to come through. Because that's probably why he doesn't really do much for 30 years. It's like he's basically just attached to a machine, and like all he could do is
pulling the strings from far.
Yeah, manipulate stuff. So maybe clones. Maybe the Snokes were clones of him, and just like modified, or maybe it was clones of a guy he knew.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing. Like people are like, well, there's no explanation. But I'm like, you have to remember, Star Wars does this. Like Plague, like the whole Plagueis scene, like that scene in what was it, episode 3?
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, where he's Anakin's talking
at the opera.
Yeah.
The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah, he starts telling that story, and he's like, there was a guy who could manipulate life and death, but he got killed by his parents. And the same thing, like a lot of people are like, well, Plagueis was his master. Again, that's all lore, because he doesn't specifically say that was his master.
Well, I mean, I know this is now extended. If you either read or listen to on tape the Darth Plagueis book, I would say about half the book is Darth Plagueis. The other half is basically an introduction to Darth Sidious and Palpatine, and it says how he grew up. And it honestly, that book tells you more about Palpatine than any movie I've ever, all the movies combined.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. They don't really tell you shit.
In the movies,
I had this argument, not an argument, a discussion, but like, I had this client, and he's like 22 or 23 or whatever, and he's talking shit about the new movies. He doesn't like them. He thinks it's all liberal, whatever agenda shit. He's not super amped about any of it, which I'm like, who gives a shit? But one of his big complaints is like when Snoke got killed, he's like, oh, they don't tell you who Snoke is. They don't tell you anything. And I'm just like, dude, they didn't tell you anything about Palpatine.
In the originals, you don't know anything.
Yeah, like what you didn't you even see him in New Hope? I think they added him in. Like maybe there's a scene where Darth Vader talks to, I think it was a different hologram, and then they changed the hologram to make it the Palpatine from episode 6. And then like in the second one, same thing. There's a couple of holograms. Yeah. And then in episode 6, there's just a guy. He's just evil, and he gets thrown and killed. You know what I mean? Like they don't tell you anything.
You don't even know much. You don't even know that much about Vader. You have a vague, your father in the Clone Wars. You don't know anything. You don't know that much about Vader either in the originals.
They don't tell you anything about anybody pretty much. So when he's complaining like, well, they didn't tell you. I'm like, they don't tell you anything ever.
Yeah.
You have to look into the lore. Like I say, when I was growing up, all we knew about Darth Vader was that he fell into a volcano and he fought in the Clone Wars. And they didn't have any explanation about any of those fucking things. Like, and then we had to wait till the prequels.
Super vague.
And even in the prequels, because the guy was like, well, in the prequels, you know, there's more Palpatine. I'm like, not even. Like, they don't even tell you who he's in that.
Not much, yeah.
All you know is he's from Naboo, which may not even be true.
Yeah.
You said there's the book, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they go into it more in the book. But, you know, he's from Naboo. He's part of the Naboo government. He gets into the Senate. He manipulates everything. He creates two sides to put himself into power, to give himself absolute rule. Which you have to remember, too. At the time, there was this President Bush Jr., and there was the Patriot Act, and there was 9/11 and all of that. So a lot of these Star Wars movies were just like
super political,
super mirroring the politics at the time of like, this dude is taking away our freedom and he's controlling it, and Dick Cheney,
and trade wars,
trade wars, and Dick Cheney just wants oil and Halliburton. And so I remember when I was in high school being annoyed by how political the prequels were getting. Just like people are annoyed now. They're like, people are all worried about this like liberal versus like conservative agenda, where they're like, oh, the main character is a woman or a black guy or whatever, because that's what they want. I'm like, dude, honestly, who gives a shit? Every movie's influenced by a product at their time. But I'm like, your main character being a girl or a guy is like a 50-50 shot, you know? It's like,
exactly.
You roll the dice. It's not going to always be a white guy. But, you know, and I want to get into like why that's kind of funny. Why I thought this movie was actually more racist than the last movie.
Yeah, I thought that too in certain points, actually.
It was so racist. To me, it was racist. Not like I'm saying it was racist, but it was racist enough that I made a racist joke right after the movie.
Yeah.
Joking about how racist I thought it was. And everybody got really uncomfortable when I made that joke, because I was like, but whatever, we'll get into it. So Palpatine's back, and basically he tells Kylo, like, all right, work for me, and I'll give you this final order, the final order. And then there's 10,000 new Death Stars pop up out of the ground, which was pretty crazy. This is one of those movies where it's definitely aesthetics, like where you're like, that just looks cool. Like you're saying, like the temple, it's floating, is it not floating?
Yeah.
Looked awesome, gives him the plan, and I guess Kylo is basically like reluctant about doing it, or I guess he's like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna really do it.
It seemed also like Kylo being under Snoke for so long, and before that being under Luke, he's tired of having a master. He wants.
That's a good point.
And even now, he's Supreme Leader Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
He just got his own independence and power, and he doesn't want to go back to being an apprentice for Palpatine, so he wants to murk him.
Yeah, and yeah, he literally got out of being out of 2 shitty jobs, got self-employed, and then some new dude's like, no, you work for me now. And he's just like, God damn these people. Like,
even though Palpatine kind of offered Kylo Ren everything, but at the same time, Sidious would not just give up his power. He wants to be the ruler always.
Yeah, and I think this is why, when it comes down to it, the Adam Driver or Kylo Ren or Ben Solo character really is the best character of the new 3 movies, because he's the one that does the most.
Yeah.
Like, Rey doesn't really have a huge arc. Like, that's why a lot of people complain that she's a Mary Sue, or a Mary Sue is basically like a character who's just good at shit. It's kind of like a really sexist way to say that chicks are too good at stuff, because I saw this on TikTok too. Someone was like, they were showing like when Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian does something really awesome, like lifts the creature up or chokes someone out or whatever. It's like everyone's like, oh, he's so good, he's so cute, he's so powerful. And then when Rey does it, they're like, Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, how'd you get so powerful so quick? Like, you didn't even train.
Yeah, but then it's like,
and Yoda's a 50-year-old baby and does it, and
like a baby's doing it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's times in Star Wars where people do shit and no one has a complaint, but people want to pick on whatever.
Honestly, while I was watching Rise of Skywalker, I thought about one of my criticisms from years ago from Force Awakens, where I was really upset that Rey messed up Kylo's face in that saber battle at the end of the movie.
Like the way you messed up your face.
Yeah, basically.
Right after this movie, you totally cut his own face open, and
in the same exact spot that Kylo Ren, and then everyone called me Kylo Ren.
Yeah, he was like posting these pictures of the same fucking scar, like
across my entire face.
What did you like pulled something?
My knife was stuck in something, and I yanked it, and it almost took my eye out.
Yeah, you had that same Kylo scar, but you talking about when they moved the scar, or is that what you?
No, not even. Well, not even when they moved the scar. Just that she was able to outclass him.
Yeah.
When he's been doing this his whole life, and she just found out that lightsabers are basically real. And I mean, I get it. Like, she has all this hidden power, and she was so powerful. I was still super upset with that, but now looking back, I'm more okay with that scene. And
because of the dyad. Remember that's the new. Not new, but that's like a big thing in the new movie, is what they call it, the dyad, which is basically because Kylo and Rey are so connected on the Force, like they're so intertwined energy wise that they kind of make each other really, like, they get like a bonus, like a video game bonus, for like a
team effort bonus, basically.
Yeah, so it makes them both like way tougher, and there's like that whole Snoke conversation where like, because one was rising so powerful, the other one, like, something was going to come and rise immediately, like the Force has to have a balance. But, I mean, even in that one, like, I remember people complaining that Finn was able to...
Finn was that good.
That he was going toe-to-toe. But, I mean, it's that same thing where I feel like if you buy it, there's explanations. Like, like Finn was a trained stormtrooper, and a really good one. Like, the same thing. If you go into his books, he was actually top of his class. But because he didn't like killing people, he kept getting demoted. Yeah. And then you see his, like, whole, like, betrayal of the First Order. And then same thing with with Rey, is you see her on Jakku, on the planet that you find her on in Force Awakens. She's already like a scrappy bitch. Like, she just scraps. Yeah. Like, she has dudes probably coming after her every fucking day. She's been alone for like fucking 20 years on this planet, or whatever, how old she is. The guy that basically adopted her as a piece of shit, who just like, he's a junk trader or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, bitch has just been
he was
scrapping.
Sold to her.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right?
Sold to her, yeah.
And he's a dick.
Yeah.
And all she does is, like, climb fucking old Death Stars and find junk and wishes to leave the planet. Classic hero's journey start. Especially, like, Luke, same thing,
Just a kid from a desert planet.
Yep, kid in a desert planet with nothing to fucking do. Except growing up, I never thought Luke was that interesting. I had the same problems growing up with Luke. Like, he gets no training and fights Darth Vader. Yeah,
and does pretty fucking well.
Like, what does he do? He works, he he trains with Yoda for like a couple of weeks, if even, and then like leaves, and then comes back just in time to see Yoda die. And then somewhere in there, he wears black and starts fighting like Darth Vader. Like Darth Vader, leader of the Sith, number one man, most badass fucking character in history. One of my personal favorite. And he just goes toe to toe with him. You know. And then when I was a kid, the explanation was like, well, he's all fucked up. He's in a robot suit. He doesn't even have arms and legs, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. The same thing was like how you could see episode 3 with Obi-Wan fighting Anakin, you know, for 20 minutes on a lava planet, crazy shit.
That makes more sense though, because you've seen their progression. You know they're both trained Jedis.
Yeah, but then you see New Hope.
Yeah,
and they fight like two geriatric shits. You know, like
barely know how to swing a saber anymore.
Yeah, and then growing up, the explanation was like, well, because they're old and fucking decrepit. They're geriatric at that point, so their fight's not going to be some elaborate lava, you know, skipping shit. But so yeah, you got that thing. You got Rey, who's kind of like just powerful throughout the movies. And a lot of people complaining in the new one that she's even more powerful for no reason. I'm just like, yo, man, that's just fucking Jedi.
Yeah, that's just raw power. And now I'm more okay with that.
So you're more okay with her elevation?
After seeing her progression throughout all 3 movies, now I understand it more.
Yeah, and I never had a problem with it because I feel like that's just one of those dumb things about Star Wars is that it's you. If anytime you don't get it, you just say the Force.
Do the Force, yeah.
And, you know, people forget, there's dumb shit in the prequels.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Like, if you watch Phantom Menace, there's that one shot where they, they do a flash thing where they just zip away.
Yeah.
I think when the battle droids get there, the big rolly ones, where they just zip at, 1,000 miles per hour off screen. And you're just like, wait, they can do that? And then you don't really see
They did a lot of that in this movie, too. They're like, wait, the Force can do that? Okay, I mean, I guess.
But that's my point, is, people are like, well, all JJ, you know, because it came later.
Just make up new Force powers every movie.
Yeah, but that's what it is. The Force, I was saying this to someone, was like, the Star Wars movies are a lot like Dragon Ball Z, where every time there's a new arc, somebody gets way more powerful. Yeah. To the point that the last arc doesn't make any sense to the new arc, where you're like...
They went so hard to go with Super Saiyan, and then the next one, they're...
Saiyans, different Saiyan, Blue Saiyan, Saiyan 3, Saiyan 4, Saiyan 5, and it's like... Or even when Dragon Ball Z starts, I think Piccolo blows up the moon to stop Gohan from transforming or whatever. So you're like, oh, they could just blow up planets. That's not even hard, you know? They just do that.
And then that never comes back, really.
And then they try to make a big deal that Frieza can do it. So whatever, off topic. Yeah. But so Star Wars does that thing where they're always elevating the power set. Like watching the prequels again, watching how they used. I was watching the Attack of the Clones where we were talking before. The way they use the Force powers in those movies looks so squishy and soft. Like when they push something, it's like, eh.
And bringing fruit across the table.
Yeah, it's all like when Dooku's ripping shit off the walls when he's fighting Yoda and Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's like, eh. Like what is that shit? You know, and then you watch the movies and they're
just
grabbing
ripping
spaceships and
now there's the new Force power where it's basically like a Rick and Morty portal, and you could just give things to people in other side of the galaxy with Rey and Kylo. Okay,
so yeah, let's talk about that. So we were talking about with the dyad, the duality of these two characters, how they feed off each other, make each other more powerful. They're more powerful because they're connected, right? One of the things you saw in Last Jedi that they did keep and they expanded on, which I liked, was remember how they were doing that that Force communication where they're talking to each other. Yeah. At first it was just voices, then they could see each other.
But they couldn't really see where they were location-wise.
They can only see them.
Yeah, they can only see them.
Yeah, which is important because they do that in this one, too.
Yeah.
They can only see the actual person. And then they do that scene in Last Jedi where, it's raining where Rey is, and then he goes to touch her, and then his glove is wet.
Yeah.
So then there's, a actual crossing of the characters. If it's something they're touching, they could bring it with them. Yeah. Kind of like a, Friday the 13th thing. And, or last night, Nightmare on Elm Street shit. Yeah. Where they're we're going to bring Freddy out of the dreams. So they do that in this one where their bond is still there. Mm. And now it's even crazier because there's scenes where they're seeing each other through that connection. And then they actually start fighting each other in a few scenes.
And grabbing things off of each other and the other person has it.
Yeah, like the necklace.
Where they are. Yeah, the necklace.
Yeah, that's how Kylo figures out where Rey is. He grabs her necklace and then he has it analyzed. And oh, we know what planet that is. Or later she's in his room on his Star Destroyer and then...
They knock into Vader's helmet.
Yeah, they break Vader's helmet stand in the fight and then he's like, oh shit, this bitch is in my room. I know where this chick is. Because they can only see what they're touching. A lot of people were against that. That seems to be one of those, like, people are either for it or people are against it.
That whole force power.
Yeah.
I mean, I was okay with it. At first, I was like, oh, like, this is new. But, I mean, I didn't have any issues with it. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. My wife was a big fan. Like, it was funny because when I was at home, right after I was watching reviews and people were just shitting on this movie, my wife just kept stopping me from watching these because she'd be like, what the fuck did they expect? And, but then we agreed that was, like, one of our favorite moments was towards the end, like, during the big climax, she basically gives Kylo her lightsaber.
Yeah.
By kind of, like...
Yeah, putting it behind her back, yeah.
And I see a lot of people complain, like, oh, they can just teleport shit now. It's like, that's like they're teleporting shit. Is that they can... touch each other through the force, kinda. Yeah. So if she's holding it, he can grab it.
I would like to see it just like a camera angle of her just disappearing from her hand, you know, because that you'll never see. But yeah, I mean, I was okay with it. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, you know.
It was something new.
Yeah.
Because like when they're fighting, they kept showing the different camera angles where like to him she's fighting him on the planet, and then to her he's in the room on the Star Destroyer. So like. They can only see each other because that was the same thing on what was it, Arc 2 or whatever the planet was in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Where Luke was, where it's like he has no clue where she is, and he's just like, "Where the fuck is this chick?" Like, I know it's raining. That's all I know because I got wet, you know. And just because while we're on the topic of their whole connection, a lot out of order. At the end of the movie, there's a big scene between them where they kiss, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people get aggravated by this, like why do they kiss? And I'm just like, I don't know how that was a surprise to anybody that these two were into each other.
Yeah, I mean,
seemed pretty fucking obvious,
especially in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because in The Last Jedi, there's that scene where
they want to rule the galaxy together.
They're like sitting in the room and they touch hands. It's like this very big moment. And classic like dad, like Luke Skywalker comes in, sees a boy in his daughter's room kind of moment, and like. Freaks out and blows the walls off, and then he disappears, and she gets mad at him like what the fuck, dad? And like totally goes after him, and they have that little fight outside the temple on the ground where she pulls a lightsaber out on him and totally goes after his ass. But so yeah, it's like obviously they have a connection. It made sense that there would be like a resolution to that connection. A lot of people thought it was forced. I thought it was pretty fucking obvious through the whole thing.
Yeah.
To the point even where like Finn chasing her the whole. Because Finn obviously seems to have a thing for her.
Yeah, he was chasing her the whole movie.
So there's a lot of like love triangle kind of stuff in this one. And then like we were saying before, like they try to get Finn like Rose to kind of be his new love interest, but that doesn't really go anywhere. And then this movie introduces new characters too. So you get another character towards like the last half of the movie, another former stormtrooper. And I think it was Endor, right? Because it was like where the wreckage of the Death Star was.
Yeah, or one of the moons of Endor. Yeah, it was somewhere around Endor, yeah.
So you get back into that, and then you got this new character who seems to be into him. And then what I was saying before about like what I thought was like super racist was that like the main character, you got Rey is like the white chick. She's into the white guy, and she's not into this dude who's clearly been chasing her the whole time. Even though I would have really loved if they went for a Poe Finn thing, because they seem to just be like totally amped.
I thought that at one point,
especially at the end when like everybody was like hugging.
And they're like running back to each other, like, buddy, like, you made it.
Here we go. They're gonna finally kiss, and like they could just be together because they had more chemistry than anybody else. Because they were together right away.
Yeah, from the jump
in the Force Awakens, But no, what I was saying was really racist is they give him a black girl to like. You know, like they're like, he's black. They find another black character. They rate this character in for him to have like a new love interest, which they don't really go too far with.
Yeah.
They kind of allude that it's like Lando's daughter, possibly.
It's either Lando's daughter or Lando's just trying to smash. I don't know. That was a creepy scene that no one could figure out.
Well, there was rumors, what I've read was that in the leaks and stuff was that the original writing was that was going to be his daughter, because I guess when you meet Lando in the movies, like he was on a journey with Luke and got left on that one planet they go to, and he was searching for like a kid that he lost, I guess, and I guess they mentioned it a little bit in the movie, and that was supposed to be like part of that resolution, but they cut it out. So you just get that weird scene at the end where Lando is like, hey, what's your story? She's like, I don't know. And he's like, you want to figure it out together? And then it just like cuts away and you're like,
everyone was like, wait a second.
You're like, what the
Lando
fuck
seems like a creepy old guy that's trying to go after a young, pretty girl.
Yeah, it was, because she's totally like young and he's totally like an old dude, and he's just like, hey, we should do this together.
And she's like, she was a stormtrooper her whole life, so she's not, so she's kind of lost, and Lando's just this creepy old guy.
Let me guide you, young lady. And then the joke I made after the movie theater was like, I'm glad Finn found someone more his speed, someone just like him, and everyone's giving me this eye roll, and I'm like, a former stormtrooper, and
like not someone that's black guys, just
yeah.
a former stormtrooper.
Because I'm joking about that, like they make this thing where it's like she has to be, and I haven't seen anyone mention this. Like I thought, like this was kind of racist. Like why does it have to be another? Why does his love interest have to be another black girl?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it doesn't matter. Like I don't care if it is, but it's just it seemed a little tucked in at the end of the movie. Like, well, he's not.
Because everyone thought that Finn and Rey were gonna be a thing.
Yeah, like, well, we're not gonna let him be with Rey.
Yeah.
We're not gonna let him be with Rose because she got fucking wrote out of this movie.
Yeah.
Nobody liked her from the previous ones, and so they give him this new character, which doesn't even really go anywhere. They kind of do like there's like a thing on horses, these like horse creatures they ride later. But yeah, you get that weird scene, and it's just like, okay, like this is a new character, So I could see like, yeah, there's some writing issues.
I think the biggest redemption happened in this movie, that Chewbacca finally got his
medal.
His medal, yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the movie, they're in a big celebration. They give Leia's medal. Who is that? Leia's medal or Han's medal?
I don't know. I was unclear on that, but all I know is he finally got his, because he got snubbed at the end of A New Hope, where everyone got medals except for poor Chewbacca that just got snubbed out of a medal.
Which I've seen a few people comment on. Like some people hated that, some people liked it. I joked with my friend.
I liked it.
I looked at my friend like, oh, he finally got his.
I was like,
medal.
it's like 50 years later, but he got his medal.
And I heard people say like, that in the extended lore, he actually does get other medals or gets one other medal.
Yeah, I think he does, yeah.
But I think that's just one of those, like...
I think they just threw it in there to, like, make... Because people have been complaining for 40 years that why Chewbacca not get a medal.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a little fun thing they threw in there.
White people didn't want to give him a medal. But yeah, he gets his medal. So... anyway, so backtracking a little bit, you got this plot line with Rey and Kylo finally having like a love moment. And you kind of, throughout the movie, they do that connection, like we were talking about. They do the connection. They have that dyad thing. They're fighting together. They're fighting against each other. And he's like, I'm going to offer my hand one more time. And when I do it, you better take it. Of course he does. And she says, fuck off. But she basically tells him, like, I would have taken Ben Solo's hand. Basically saying, like, if you weren't a piece of shit, I wouldn't be opposed to
She wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I would. Because that was the whole thing at the end of Last Jedi where, like, after they kill Snoke and they have that big, awesome fight scene against the guards. Where he's like, all right, now join me. And then she's like, all right, now help me save the rebels. And then he's just like, no, fuck the rebels. Fuck this. Fuck Luke. Fuck Snoke. Fuck everybody. Let's just do our own thing. Yeah. And she's like, no, I like my friends. And and then they get into that little battle with the lightsaber. So another little nitpick. They break the lightsaber in The Last Jedi. They shatter it. I have it right up there.
Yeah.
I have like a mock-up of it. And then in this movie, it starts off with like, I guess, Leia helped her fix it. They put like a little strap on it.
Yeah.
They kind of like tie it back together, which is annoying because this movie gives you a couple more lightsabers. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as a nerd, that's the shit I care about.
Yeah.
The lightsabers. Like I had a really hard time finding a screenshot, like a leak shot of Leia's lightsaber. Yeah. So they basically retcon Leia a little bit where they're like, no, she trained as a Jedi.
Because in Last Jedi, when she uses the Force, everyone's like, all right, what?
Yeah.
Like, what just happened?
That was a big nitpick. A lot of people hated the Mary Poppins-esque moment where she flies through space.
And we all thought that she, like, that was the first time she's ever used the Force.
Yeah.
In The Last Jedi. And we find out that she was basically a Jedi in training to be a Jedi.
And good at it, too.
And good, yeah.
So they give you a little flashback, because that's something in the new movies, is that there's flashbacks where there wasn't ever flashbacks in Star Wars before.
Yeah.
And you find out that Luke, and they do a little de-aging there, where you see a little flashback where Leia and Luke are training, fighting, and like wherever, the jungle, woods, somewhere. And Leia has her own lightsaber.
I think it was Dagobah, too.
Was it Dagobah?
It looked like Dagobah, yeah.
So you got that scene. And then you find out Leia has a lightsaber, and Luke's ghost shows up. They do that funny little kind of retcon joke where at some point Rey basically just gives up hope. She's like, maybe I just need to
she pulls a Luke,
exile myself because of her big family revelation. And she goes back to the planet Arc 2 or whatever where Luke kind of hid. She destroys the ship she came on. She tries to throw the lightsaber like, fuck this shit. And then Luke's ghost shows up for a cameo. He grabs lightsaber. He's like, you gotta treat this thing with respect, which is like, okay, ha ha ha, because, you know.
Yeah, Rian Johnson just tossed it over his shoulder.
Yeah, Last Jedi starts with him just throwing the fucking thing, which I'm fine with, and I'm fine with him, like, doing it, and I don't think it was, like, a direct slap in the face, because it was more like, hey, man, you know, I learned that I made a mistake. He even says, like, I was wrong. You know, I was wrong to do that. I was wrong to kind of hide. I was wrong to be a crouchy old shit like I was in the episode 8. And but then he's like, all right, well, don't do that. I actually have something for you. And then you find out on the planet he hid away Leia's lightsaber.
Yeah.
Because Leia had some vision about how the lightsaber was going to go to someone that saves the day. And if she trained as a Jedi, that would cause her kid to get killed, who still dies in the movie. Spoiler alert, Kylo Ren dies. And she gets that lightsaber, which I was kind of a little let down by because it's blue, which is like, there's so many other colors. And then watching Revenge of the Sith again, it's like, why does everyone have blue lightsabers?
I know.
There's so many other colors you can do. But you get a little reprieve on that because at the very end of the movie, in the last scene, when you see Rey kind of looking towards the future and being like, now I can start again after they, defeat evil, she has her own new lightsaber.
Ben had a green one originally, right? When he was a Jedi? I believe so, right? When they showed the flashback?
I don't know.
No, I think that was Luke's saber.
Luke's
it was
green.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. I know he had the green one, which was like...
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Which was a continuation of his Return of the Jedi lightsaber. So you get a new lightsaber then. So Rey builds her own lightsaber out of her staff. Because they kept showing this thing where, like, she was still better with the staff than she was with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
You see her training in the beginning, and she's, like, running through the woods and fighting with lightsaber. And then she starts getting
she kills the little droid she's training with her staff.
Yeah, it's one of those little floaty droids that you see Luke fight.
Yeah, the little
like,
training, yeah.
And she has the blast shield mask on. She's doing, like, a little, like, American Ninja course. And gets really good to the point where she's like throwing it, she's chopping up trees with it. But then, she resorts to using her staff. So I was a little disappointed at the end because her lightsaber was just a piece of the staff turned into a new lightsaber. Yeah. It wasn't the whole staff. I was really hoping she would have
a double blade,
a double-sided staff lightsaber just to have something new in the series.
And also, when she's training, you see her anger too, which I noticed.
Yeah.
Where Jedi are supposed to, I don't know, suppress it or not use their anger.
That's
but
what
she
they
was
give
using
into it.
Yeah, it looked like she was giving into her anger too much.
Because anger leads to hate.
It does.
And hate leads to suffering. All right, so that's the other big thing. And this is the huge arc of the story. Besides Palpatine being back, is you find out who Rey's parents are.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I had a little bit of an issue with that, actually. I thought it was cool that Rey, spoiler alert, Rey's a Palpatine. He's her granddaughter.
Yeah.
And
they pull a little
there was a few
from
things.
A certain point of view thing with that.
Rey's dad is Palpatine's son.
Yeah.
Who did Palpatine fuck? Why
did he fuck?
Why is his son
not?
Why is he not strong in the Force? Why is he just on some desert planet? I feel like that was a huge kind of plot hole.
Yeah.
Who's Rey's dad and Palpatine's son? Why is he not ruling the galaxy? Or why? I mean, he was what? I mean, how old is Rey? Say 23 to 25, maybe.
Yeah, let's say she's 25.
Yeah, and when did the Empire fall? 30 years ago.
Earlier? Yeah.
So that means Palpatine's son, when Rey was like 5,
was already born.
Well, he was like 25. Like he was like 30. The dad.
He would have to have been born
during the Empire.
Prequel
Well,
era.
no, not even.
Well, because the prequel era is like what, 17 years before New Hope? Because Luke is born at the end of Episode 3, and then I think he's 17 or 19 when New Hope starts.
So how old was Rey's dad when Rey got
young
given up?
when they show the flashbacks.
I mean, but young,
Let's say
early
20s.
20s. Yeah, early 20s, 30s, maybe.
Yeah. Let's say he was 30.
What's he been doing this whole time?
Well, obviously he'd have to have been born or conceived
during the Empire
before he died, I would assume, right?
Yeah. Like what was he doing during Empire Strikes Back? He was a little kid.
Getting his fucking gang on, dude. He was fucking hoes.
I guess.
I kind of get that feeling that Palpatine, because he's Sith, like the Jedis, the whole thing with like Anakin and stuff was like Jedis aren't supposed to have like marriages and relationships because it distracts them from the path. And then if they lose somebody, it's like when you're an A, you're not supposed to date another A member because if you guys both have a problem, you guys are gonna go resort to an issue. So, or like go back to drinking. Whereas like same thing with this, like you don't want Jedis to fuck because then if they get pissed off or they have a bad breakup, then they get Sithy. So
I also thought of one theory that maybe he wasn't. Rey's parents weren't actually related to Palpatine, and he did a midichlorian thing similar to Anakin.
That's something I've seen coming up a lot because the whole thing is if Rey is a Palpatine, fine, right? But then she's like kissing Kylo, who's Darth Vader's grandson, right? No, not his grandson, his like nephew, right?
Darth Vader is his grandson.
Yeah, it is his daughter, Leia's kid, right? So, but then the idea is that Anakin was created from the dark side, basically like they pushed his.
I mean, Palpatine's kind of Vader's father.
That's kind of my point. Is that Palpatine or Darth Sidious basically created Anakin to have something to manipulate, and then he.
Because I was thinking maybe that's why we never heard about Palpatine's son, because it's not his actual son. He's the grandfather, as in he made the midichlorian count go up, and similar to like how Anakin was born, where there was no father or mother.
Or a Sith just bang, and when you're head of the Senate and the government, maybe has a harem of concubines, and one of his they have kids, I guess. Or it was just maybe he just does that thing where I'm gonna make as many things as I can manipulate as possible.
Yeah.
Like the idea that Baby Yoda is something that maybe he created, and then he's like, wait, how long did it take to grow up? Well, fuck, I gotta do something else now.
Yeah.
Because he would have been like created in the prequel era,
Yeah.
Way like early.
Well, he was 50 years old, so
he's 50 years old, 4 years after,
or probably around A New Hope, or in between episode 3 and 4, Baby Yoda was born.
Yeah, he'd have to be back then. Yeah, like when Anakin was like a kid.
Yeah.
So. You got same thing. Like, is Yoda banging? It might not be Yoda's kid, though.
Yeah,
so.
probably not.
Just probably.
I also heard, aren't a lot of his species force sensitive? Because Yaddle too, you see.
There's not a lot of lore.
I know.
That's why Jon Favreau went with the Baby Yoda thing, because there's not much on it, and supposedly season 2 is going to go way more into it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just I have that same thought. Like, there's a lot of people get really hung up on that, and I'm just like, there's so many different ways you can explain it. It's like the talking cat from Rick and Morty, which that's gonna be like my new go-to.
I haven't even seen the new season yet.
Well, at one point there's a talking cat, and it's telling Jerry like they should go to Florida, and then he thinks Rick had something to do with it. And Rick's like, has nothing to fucking do with me. I have no clue what the talking cat's about. And then he's like, how come you can talk? And he's like, why does everyone keep asking that? And then later in the episode, he's basically like, any explanation I give you is not going to be a good explanation. like you're not going to like anything I tell you. Like, there's no reasoning. And I think it's that same kind of thing. Like, the more you read into it, I'm like, unless I'm sure there'll be a book or a comic that gets into it. But my bigger comment is that it's funny that the dude knew he was Palpatine's kid. So however he was born, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, I don't want to be in the family business. I found a girlfriend, and we're going to get married, and we're going to leave, and we're going to start a
I thought
family
maybe
somewhere.
He was in the family business secretively, and then he fell in love, and they kind of ran away, maybe.
Well,
it's so open-ended.
Kylo said that because they were doing that, like, from a certain point of view that, like, Obi-Wan pulls on Luke, where it's like, oh, they were nobody, but he's like, because they chose to be nobody.
Yeah.
So
it's like they were not nobody. They were Palpatine's kid, but they chose to be.
So yeah, you find out that she's a Palpatine, and that's supposed to lend credence to why she's so powerful.
Yeah.
She uses Force lightning at some point reactively when her and Kylo are kind of like force pulling on a ship, like a transport ship that's leaving the planet. Where they kind of do this dumb fake out with Chewbacca.
Where Chewbacca dies. Which actually, I was sad when you think Chewbacca died, but at the same time, I mean, I love in movies when everyone dies because it's more realistic.
Yeah.
I was sad Chewbacca died, but at the same time, I was happy. I was like, there's some gravity to this movie. There's consequences that you can't go back from.
I don't mind. Like, I would have been fine with way more deaths in this movie if they would have done it. My only complaint when it happened, when they make you think that Chewbacca died, was because it only lasts like 5 minutes. Is because then they're like, oh no, he's fine. He was on a different ship. Which I'm like, well, they're all idiots that they didn't realize that.
They didn't realize
there was two ships on the ground. Whatever. But
and fuck all the people that they just killed, because there was clearly, if it was a transport ship, there was all other prisoners on that ship that Rey killed.
What? Yeah, well, it's the same thing like Luke blowing up a Death Star. Like, you just kill 10,000 people,
Yeah,
it's like there's a lot of killing. Like, rebels kill a lot of people.
So even the janitors, I'm sure they weren't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that just work there. Like, that's just the
their
government.
job.
Like, you can hate Trump, but if you blow up the White House, there's other people. That are there.
Exactly.
So. So yeah, you get that thing where you get that fake out, and honestly, my only complaint at like the moment it happened was like I'm fine with him dying, but I just wanted the death to be a little bit more sensical.
Yeah,
like I guess you
just see a ship blowing up, it doesn't mean much.
Like, what was the old books called? Like, what do they call the old books? Legends now, like the old lore.
Yeah.
I think in one of the books, Chewbacca dies saving Han or some shit with the Falcon and crashes the Falcon. So like Chewbacca dies in the Falcon during a crash, like in the old books, and something like that I would have liked to have seen. Like, they should have been killing off characters like Game of Thrones style instead of like adding new characters.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? Who's that? Carrie Russell or whatever she.
Oh, something with a Z. I want to say. I forget. Yeah.
Poe goes to meet some chick with a mask,
and they have. You think they're gonna keep getting together, and Carrie Russell's like, "No, I'm not trying to smash." And Poe just keeps trying to smash.
That shit was funny though, because he's like, "Kiss," and she's like, "No."
Yeah.
And at the end, they're in a big celebration when everybody's
like, "Oh, you made it! You made it!"
Yeah, which totally doesn't make any sense that she survived, because you see her planet get blown up. But yeah, he like goes to her at the end and he kind of gives that look like, you want to celebrate? And she's like, no, like, I'm not fucking you. And you're like, all right, that's fine. That's why I thought he would go into Finn's arms and be like, they can finally embrace. Like,
and I heard that there was gonna be like the first gay Star Wars couple in this movie.
Do you see it?
You do see it, but it's just two random people. It's just two random females kissing at the end.
Chick from Last Jedi who was like part of Leia's like crew. She has like a big nose. I don't know. It's like some older white
yeah,
lady.
But they're not important characters.
No, they're not important at all.
I actually thought it would be Finn and Poe at the end.
Like maybe might as well. Fuck
the whole movie. There's
one.
A secret that Finn has to tell.
That's the secret.
Yeah, that he was. Yeah, that's what I thought it might be. like.
Yeah, so okay.
Because you already saw Kylo and Rey kiss, so I'm like, oh, maybe he's gay then.
Okay, so let's backtrack a second. So yeah, you get the first, I don't know, same-sex couple, whatever, kiss on the Star Wars. Like, it matters. Like there's aliens and Sith and space wizards and people. Same thing like on Star Trek. Like the Star Trek Discovery did that, where it was like the first main characters that were like openly gay, and it's like, who gives a shit? I'm in space with aliens and stuff.
I don't care if you're straight or gay. We just want to see lightsabers and aliens.
I don't go see space stories to see like nice wholesome American man.
I mean, it's already pretty diverse. There's I don't know how hundreds of different alien species.
Yeah.
It's a diverse movie.
Dude, anybody. It's like Galaxy Quest when the engineer dude starts banging out the octopus chick, and you're just like, okay, like that's man, that's space. You're gonna bang a chick, you're gonna bang a chick.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna bang a squid, whatever, who gives a shit. So yeah, they do that same sex kiss. It's kind of really quickly done, like they don't want to get two people too pissed off, because people get pissed off. I don't care. I would have rather seen Finn and Poe at that point just get together, because they had way more chemistry than everybody else. But now they cheap out. And then okay, so backtrack. Finn does this thing in the movie where twice he keeps saying he has a secret that he wants to tell Rey. Like, you think they're gonna die? They fall into like a quicksand pit, and he's like, "I gotta tell you something," and then they fall down, and then
they live.
She's like, "What were you gonna tell me?" And they did that. It was like same thing like Galaxy Quest. Like right before they think they're gonna die, like he's like, "I gotta tell you something. I've always," and then nothing happens, and then she's like, "Wait, what were you gonna say?" And he just like laughs and runs off.
Yeah.
So it was that same kind of thing. And then later, when you think they're gonna get executed when they get caught, Poe starts giving him shit. He's like, "Hey, what was that thing you were gonna say?"
He's like, "Now's not the time." And he's like, "No, now is the time. We're about to die.
Now is the only time you got." And then they don't tell you.
And I don't even think it was that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, I have a crush on Rey. Why wouldn't you tell your boy that?
J.J. Abrams, or I don't know if it was specifically J.J. Abrams or it was during like a screening for the movie, they explain it. Someone explained it, and they said that he was gonna tell everyone that he can feel the Force. He's Force sensitive. Even though narratively it seemed like he was going to tell Rey that he liked her.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, it's so racist that they're like, no, here's a black girl for you to like, like, you can't like the white main character. So that's why I was like, it's kind of reverse racist. But so yeah, he says it again, and then the movie ends, they don't tell you. And you're just like, oh, wait, what the fuck was Finn trying to say the whole movie?
Yeah.
And like I said, I guess they allude. It's one of those things like, what did Groot say when he died? Kind of thing. In a tweet, someone explains it. And I guess it's supposed to be that Finn has not Force powers.
And you see that throughout the movie.
Force.
He can feel the Force, and he knows things that he wouldn't be able to know otherwise.
Which is fine, because
he can't really use the Force, but he's Force sensitive.
Because he does do stuff, like he feels things.
He knows certain.
He picks up the saber. He senses shit in this movie, specifically in this one, where he'll be like, "Oh, I sent like I think was it when Rey kind of died for a minute? He sensed it or something." So yeah, that's fine.
He knew like which way to go and other things.
Just seems a little late in the game to give a shit about his shitty Force powers. What was the dude on Rogue One? The blind monk guy?
Oh, I can't remember his
name.
Man. Yeah. Donnie Yen. Yeah.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Like, is he Force sensitive? I guess he's Force sensitive. And I hear that word Force sensitive a lot, and that's so annoying. I get it, but I'm like, isn't the whole point of the Force is that everybody has the Force to a degree? Like, it's in everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends your midichlorian count. Isn't that what gives
I
you
love
more...
that you're sticking to metachlorines.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I ride with that forever.
Like
they said that in episode 1, and I was like, I'm going to use this forever.
Like, everybody else hates it and abandons it so hard, and you're just like... Yeah.
I like it, actually. I didn't originally, but now it's an easy way to explain a lot of unexplainable shit.
I don't mind it.
It's like, you have a higher midichlorian count, you're stronger with the Force.
I always looked at it the other way, like the same things, different side of the coin, where if you are really strong with the Force, the way you can blood test for that is that your midichlorian numbers go up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it... I mean, again, I'm wrong. I think the lore is different, but I always looked at it like, if you're really good with the Force, you just have more midichlorians.
Yeah.
You know? Just like if you're athletic, you have more mitochondria,
Yeah.
Because, you use your muscles more to duplicate. So I always felt like it was that kind of thing. I don't think it's like midichlorians, therefore more Force. You have more Force, therefore there's midichlorians.
Yeah.
But, well, originally... before George Lucas sold the trilogy off to Disney, he had like a plan for the episode 7, 8, 9, and supposedly it was going to go more into the midichlorians, the whims. There was going to go a lot more into the genetics and the blood aspect of it. But well, he didn't get his fucking chance. So
Yeah.
we got this fucking Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams universe. But yeah, so you got so Finn's strong with the Force, or he's sensitive to the Force. He can feel it. That's something he keeps talking about. He doesn't really get anywhere with it. They kind of do this thing where Poe has a back history of being like a spice smuggler. That's when you get that Kerry Russell character, whatever. And then you had that little dude who fixes C-3PO.
Yeah, Bo
C-3PO
something.
has a whole fake
Yeah,
death
he's got
out.
his own little arc there.
He has a fake death out too, where they find like a Sith artifact because they're trying to find their own MacGuffin holocron thing to find the Sith homeworld. And
to go and kill Palpatine.
They find a dagger that has the directions on it, and that's when Rey starts to figure out her past and who her parents were, or she starts to remember who they were. And was it Feek? I don't remember. There was a little dude, basically.
But his name was like Bo something. Bo Fika. I don't know. I can't remember now.
I know. We're bad.
He was a little cute
mechanic dude. But basically, they find this artifact. C-3PO can read it because he can read like 6 million fucking languages. But then he's like, "Oh, I can't tell you what it says
against my programming
because it's Sith. Because it's written in Sith, and Sith translations got like outlawed, I guess, at some point.
And then another side quest to go and figure it out.
Yeah, so they side quest. Same thing like Endgame, where like everyone has side quests now.
Yeah.
Very video gamey. And then so they basically have to go find a dude to basically hack into C-3PO to get the fucking translation out of his head to get bypass that whole protocol. And so they do a little death moment where like they're like, "Well, we're gonna have to wipe you, dude." And he's like, "Oh, I just want to see my friends again," and like, "Oh, it's like cute." And then
say goodbye to them.
They wipe him, and it was cool when they turn him back on because he had like red eyes, and he's like, "Up, burp, burp, burp."
Yeah,
like,
and he's saying the Sith whatever.
He's very mechanical, he has no personality. But then R2D2 reboots or reinstalls his memory.
Yeah, and they even said like, "Oh, doesn't R2 have your memory backed up?" And he was like, "Well, R2's unreliable," and you're like, how unreliable though? Like clearly he's not that unreliable.
Like I don't know. I mean, that's the thing with robots, right? Like, is it still him? It's just the data. R2 remembers everything.
Yeah.
R2 didn't get a lot to do in this movie. I was a little sad.
Yeah.
BB-8, and then you got that new Dio.
Dio, robot, yeah.
Which was cute because he says words.
Yeah.
Like now.
And he was like abused.
Yeah, he's like this poor little like PTSD robot.
It's like you get near him and he freaks out like you're gonna hit him.
Yeah, I thought he was cool, but he was barely in the movie. I just like that he talked like someone goes to touch him and he's like, "No, don't touch me."
No,
like,
thank you.
Yeah, he's so polite and so damaged. It was so like such a weird little
another
character,
cute little robot,
like a little damaged. And then when they realized that he has like some information in him, I'm like, how did you not think to ask the robot from the ship that you were trying to find? Maybe he knows something. I mean, he worked on the ship. He probably knows something, but
yeah.
So another character to introduce, but. Kind of going back to my point, is like they don't kill anybody really in this movie. A lot of people fake death. Like Rey dies for a second, she comes back. Kylo dies twice.
Yeah, dies twice.
comes back once.
Leia
dies. Comes back. Leia dies. Yeah. So okay, that's another huge plot point. Leia, the actor, died.
Yeah.
Between these movies, and they had to use like some stock footage. Of stuff they had recorded from Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I've seen people go either way with this one, where you could kind of tell they only had so many things she says to work with, so it leads to a couple of weird little conversations. I didn't mind it though. I thought it worked. I think for what they had, I'm surprised she was in the movie as much as she was.
Yeah, me too.
Did you? And then she dies because she sacrificed herself, kind of.
She uses like the. It was even that was kind of like, it was kind of how Luke died. Like he used the Force, and then he's like, my time's over.
Burnt themselves out.
Yeah.
Well, the scene goes basically like you could assume that Rey and Kylo have a big fight, and they're fighting outside the wreckage of the Death Star or on the wreckage. And as they're going at it, Rey is getting pissed. She's like, I want to kill this fucking dude. Kylo is like, I'm taking this chick down because I got to do something. And you see Leia kind of give her last moment to basically kind of like reach out one last time, just kind of...
To try and redeem Kylo.
Yeah, like she gets in his head one last time, kind of stops him in his tracks because she dies as a result, and he feels it. And then
he's about to strike down Rey at that moment. Yeah,
he's about to fuck this bitch up. And he gets kind of fucking caught off guard with his mom. Kind of makes him like think for a second. Rey takes that moment to grab his lightsaber, or she already had it, or takes it. Fucking just impales the guy.
Yeah.
And just drops him. And as soon as she does it, she's like, oh no, like, damn it, I'm giving into the dark side. I shouldn't kill this dude. And then she does something else a lot of people are pissed off about. Rey has healing powers in this movie. She learned how to heal with the Force at some point.
I mean, I'm okay with a lot of her new powers because she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and Palpatine has all these powers that most people don't have.
Some would consider unnatural. Yeah, so she does that.
Yeah.
She fixes Kylo Ren up, says sorry. She bounces. She's like, I gotta go. I'm gonna go kill Palpatine. And Kylo Ren has a moment there where he's kind of like rethinking his life. Like, what the fuck do I do? Like, what's going on? Like, who am I?
Getting a little nice Han shot.
Yeah, and then you get the Han Solo cameo where... And a lot of people freaking out. It's not a Force ghost.
No, it was like his memory, right?
Yeah, it was like he was having a vision of himself. Like he was having a vision of his dad that basically from his memories kind of redoing that scene where he kills him. And even does the same lines like where you see...
And he knows his mom just died too.
Yeah, he's all fucked up. His mom died. Now he's regretting... I mean, he already kind of regretted. You can see it. He regretted killing his dad. Like, he kind of hated the whole thing. He realizes that he's been a puppet the whole time. Feels shitty about it. He's having a little internal struggle. Adam Driver does an amazing job.
Yeah.
He kind of does that moment where he's like, I know what I have to do. I don't know if I have the strength. And then in a moment, which I want to explain why I think this is stupid, he throws his lightsaber and kind of is like, no more dark side. I'm fucking done with this shit. And then for the rest of the movie, he's kind of like a good guy trying to help out Rey. Now, my thing about that is, and I was watching Attack of the Clones, and Anakin does the same thing. Where he, when he's explaining that he killed the Sand People to his girlfriend, to Padme, where they throw something and it goes like 15 feet. And these people have Force powers.
You would think they would launch
that fucking thing. Like when he throws it, he's just like, eh. Same thing with like Anakin when he's like, and I killed him, and he goes, Obi-Wan's jealous of me, and he throws the thing, and he's like, eh. I'm like, what the If I had the Force power, if I threw something, I would launch that shit 1,000 miles per hour into space. Like, he should have thrown that lightsaber so hard it exploded.
Yeah.
Which also, is such a dumb nitpick, but that's a personal nitpick.
I want to say it was in episode, or not, The Force Awakens, where I think there's a line or something where they say how Kylo's lightsaber looks the way it does and sounds the way it sounds because it's not finished yet.
Oh, and have him finish it?
How did he not finish it in 3 movies? I was hoping by this movie he would ignite it and it would be like perfect. And
like
he would
a perfect red light, it
would be perfect. Exhaust ports. Yeah, it would be just completely fixed, no wires hanging out, all dangling. Like, I was hoping by 3 movies he would have had time to.
Well, dude, you get a new job, you become
he has
Supreme
time to
leader.
Fix his helmet.
Yeah,
but not his lightsaber.
That's another thing they do. Where a little slap in Ryan Johnson's face, where JJ's like, "No, I want him in this fucking helmet. We're putting him in a goddamn helmet." So you see Kylo Ren. Basically, he pays Caesar from Planet of the Apes to fix it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Caesar with Yoda's ears.
Yeah. There's a space chimpanzee with like a cool visor thing, and he builds it, and then he builds in like a little LED backlighting too, because all the red cracks in it light up. So,
he like welded it, but it never cooled down. It looked like.
Yeah, exactly. So you get like another version 3 toy to buy.
It was cool because you get a lot more Knights of Ren in this movie, but still not nearly enough.
That was another dangling Chad from that's an old reference. With the Knights of Ren, where like you never see him, you hear about him, you see him in like the one vision, and then they're in the movie.
Still don't know who they are. Are they Luke's old students?
That's what I always assumed. I don't read
and
the
maybe
lore.
Kylo was like, you guys can come with me, but you can't use lightsabers anymore. Like, I'm the only one that can do it. You're just part of my crew now. Hopefully one day that gets explained. That's not a book, maybe a series or something.
No.
I would love a Disney Plus series of the Knights of Ren with Kylo just doing.
Well, in Angry Joe review, he was saying that in the lore, actually one of them has a red lightsaber, and then he was kind of saying like, I get why they didn't do it in the movie, but I guess the lore is the one of them has it.
Yeah.
But anyways, you see them, which kind of goes hand in hand because when Kylo turns good again, he goes to the Sith planet where Rey and Palpatine are having their little shit fight about being related. And which I thought was probably one of the best moments in the movie is when he jumps into the Sith lair and then he like hits the chain. He's like, ow.
Yeah.
like he's not badass and pissy anymore. Now he's like more compassionate.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then he crawls down there and the Knights of Ren try to fight him and they basically they
were beating him up.
They start stomping him out.
Yeah.
It's just like, you don't have a lightsaber, fuck you. Because he tries to go all blaster like that for a minute and it doesn't work. But that's when Rey does the little force connection and she kind of force passes him the lightsaber. Because they give you the Leia lightsaber, but I feel like they only did that just so that way they could do that scene.
Yeah.
What I would like, for once, I'd like to see someone use the force and make their lightsaber change color while they're fucking holding it.
I don't think they can though.
But isn't like
it's per kyber crystal.
But isn't that how they make the crystal red? Don't they like put their hate into it and make it red?
From what I remember, You're
my resident expert, so you better fucking know.
It's been a while. From what I remember, from at least the majority, I believe, of the red kyber crystals, they're synthetic crystals, and something about them being synthetic makes them red.
That's the old lore. They got rid of that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think in the new lore, because they threw out all the extended universe shit, I think in the new one it's supposed to be like they concentrate into it and then turn it red, like they make it evil.
Do they? Because I remember in one of the Clone Wars episodes, there's a bunch of Padawans that they go to this, like, I think it's like an ice planet, and they all go there to get their kyber crystal, and it like has to be your crystal. It has to speak to you.
Well,
thing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's the old Clone War cartoon. Yeah, because Yoda.
Well, no, that's the new Clone War cartoon.
Oh, they do that in the new one too?
Yeah, unless they do it in the old one also.
They do it in the old one too. Yoda takes the students and they.
Yeah, it was basically like a similar episode then.
Because in that episode, the Empire blows it up. So like they can't get more crystals. But that's actually what Starkiller Base is supposed to be. That's supposed to be the planet where they got the crystals from. Because that's why they were able to build the laser there, because they took all the kyber crystals that were on the planet. I guess there was a fuckload of it, and then they just took it, made that giant hyperspace cannon, and did it with that. And that's why they mined it out. But it's funny, because they do all that effort to show you that it's really hard to get new lightsabers. But they don't ever show anybody do it. Like
I know.
You never see anyone.
You want that scene.
Like, where did Rey get a yellow crystal? You know? Yeah. Who knows? So I mean,
then maybe it is like your force being, you know.
Well, that's what I heard with the red. That's what I remember hearing from the red. I'm probably wrong. There's a lot to read on that kind of stuff. But then Kylo doesn't have the lightsaber. He gets transported to the lightsaber. He fucks up the Knights of Ren. He goes to help. Then you have the big confrontation with Palpatine. Yeah. And and he's pulling that same shit where he's just like, strike me down and I will be one with you. Yeah. And we can be evil. And I have this giant space armada of 10,000 Death Star destroyers.
It almost seemed like with the ritual to strike Palpatine down, it looked like he would take over Rey's body. Or they almost like fused together.
They allude that his spirit would be one with her, and then like she would possess the Sith. But it's the same thing they did in Old Return of the Jedi, where he's like, strike me down. Like, if you kill someone in hate, especially someone that powerful, you probably absorb the hate, because, or something, I don't know. But it's like a big symbolic thing. Because I've seen people say, well, Rey still kind of kills the Emperor. Yeah. Doesn't he win? And I'm like, nah, he doesn't win because she doesn't kill him out of anger. She doesn't strike him down.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if like the ritual actually matters too.
I think you
have to take 5 steps towards me, strike me down.
I don't think it's that literal, but I think it's more like you have to kill someone in anger. Like you have to strike that dude, take the lightsaber, and cut that fucker down.
Because it was kind of forced self-defense how she killed him.
Yeah, he died the way like he always dies.
Yeah, the same with Mace Windu. And
when will the Emperor learn? Stop shooting lightning at people when they start reflecting it.
Yeah, just stop, cut it off.
Yeah, because that's how Palpatine dies in this one. He has Force Lightning. He heals himself by absorbing the energy of Kylo and Rey at some point. he kind of like heals himself, and then starts going nuts on everybody. Starts lightning everybody, lightning's the sky, lightning's all the new ships in space, and kind of like turns them off for a minute. Does like a little EMP thing. But yeah, he tries to, when she says fuck off, he tries to, lightning her, and then she feels the force. She becomes one with the universe. You get a bunch of cameo voices.
Yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn, Hayden Christensen.
She has like an Avatar Airbender moment where she connects all the previous avatars, and then she reflects it. She gets the other lightsaber. She double reflects it, and in like a classic, like you have to make sure he looks dead
and
scene.
It reminded me a lot of the scene from Episode 3 with Anakin, where he has the two lightsabers to
kill Dooku.
To kill Dooku.
Yeah.
And Palpatine was right there when that happened. Also,
do it.
I love that he said "do it" in this movie too.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
Anytime Palpatine tells someone to fucking do it, I'm amped. Like, yes, do it.
DEW it.
DEWIT. Yeah, do it. Do it now. And yeah, he gets reflected and burns himself up and dies, and then there's a big explosion. The Sith are defeated forever. There's 1,000 like Sith acolytes in this like dark Coliseum area. I don't know.
Also, I noticed. I don't know if this was unintentional, but I believe my extended lore is a little rusty right now. The throne that Palpatine was sitting on looked so much like, I believe it's Darth Bane's armor, where you have all those like the stones sticking. Like if you look up a picture of Darth Bane's armor, 99% sure it's Darth Bane. That looked like it was his throne.
Could be.
And Darth Bane, even though it's not a movie, he's canon in the Clone Wars series. Like you actually see, and Mark Hamill voices Darth Bane in the series.
Does he? Nice.
Yeah, I mean he's not actually alive, but you see like
he's like one of those like a force.
It's like a force ghost of Darth
Sith
Bane.
Force, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one where like someone was trying to get like an artifact and then the ghost shows up?
Yeah. And Mark Hamill voices him, but if you look up Darth Bane's armor and then look up Palpatine's Sith chair or whatever, it looks like it would be Darth Bane's.
I mean, it makes sense. It's supposed to be this big Sith Empire
and
chair,
I believe
Game of Thrones thing.
I believe Bane is the one that made the Rule of Two. I could be mistaken on that. It's been a while. I think
I got my book of Sith up there. I have to read through it. Yeah, so yeah, they got that cool Game of Thrones looking throne. He wants her to take it. He wants her to become the Empress. She says fuck off. She reflects lightning. He dies. Big fucking spoiler. They fucking defeat the evil. Everybody wins. The Star Destroyers that all can blow up a planet individually somehow can go up, and then they fucking get blown up, and then they start falling. You see a couple different planets celebrating the end of all this evilness. You see like the Ewoks and stuff. But I'm like, you never see Coruscant again, which kind of annoys me. Like,
yeah, I would have liked this. I would have liked the side mission to Coruscant.
Yeah, why not go back to Coruscant? Or how about just show, especially during that scene, like, they digitally edited it into the old movies during the celebration, but like show the other planets that we've been to,
Yeah, throughout the years.
And then you don't get that, so whatever. So everyone celebrates, they defeat evil. During the murder or death or self-inflicted death of Palpatine, Rey basically burns out, or she was already fucked up and then uses the last bit effort to do it, and then there's an explosion. She dies in the EMP blast or whatever. Kylo, he got kind of sidelined. He got thrown into a pit for a second, and he kind of crawls back out, and then he revives her, because I'm imagining it's that same thing like the dyad.
He gives his life force.
Yeah, because he's connected with her. He learned. It's like when Goku was fighting like Beerus the first time, and then he just fights him as like a Saiyan god, and then later he could just be as powerful. He's like, oh no, I felt it. Like I knew how to do it now. So I think that he does the same thing. Is like, I feel it now. I know how to revive or heal people. But he gives all his life essence to Rey. They kiss for a second. Rey dies. Not Rey dies. Kylo Ren dies.
Yeah.
Rey lives. Kylo dies. Or is Ben. Now he's Ben Solo because he's good again. And he dies. And then he force disappears. His mom's body force disappears. And I don't know, who knows? They become ghosts or something.
And Maz Cantana? What was Maz's name? Maz Cantana?
What about her? Ma?
I forget how to say her last name, but she was in this movie, and we never got to... In The Last Jedi... Was it The Last Jedi? Or was it Force Awakens where we get Maz saying... Yeah, and Han... Oh, yeah, Force Awakens. And Han is like, oh, where'd you get Luke's saber? And she's like, that's a story for another time. And then you see her come in this movie, and you're like, is this the other time? And you still never find out how she gets Luke's saber.
Oh, like that classic, like Luke's like, there was a hand with it. Did you find the hand?
Yeah, well, Maz gives the saber to Rey.
No, yeah, I know, in the box. Yeah, but it's like,
and you never find out how. Yeah,
however
where's
they
the
got
hand
that, there
too?
should have been
Yeah.
a hand with it. But
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't explain that. There's a few things they don't really kind of like the whole thing with Finn and what he had to say. They don't wrap up everything, but just kind of you could tell how rushed a lot of this movie got.
Yeah.
A lot of comparisons to the end of Game of Thrones, like, and even that, like, that was just more like, I don't know, they just didn't do a good job explaining anything. They didn't, like, because there was all these because that was just plot lines. This was more like, it's Star Wars, it's action, who gives a shit,
Yeah.
And it ends and everyone celebrates, evil's defeated. Rey goes back to Tatooine. You see a cool shot where like when you first see her and she's like kind of sliding down the sand.
Yeah, and you see Luke's home.
Yeah, you see Luke's house, like his Aunt Beru and Owen's house, and she goes there and then she dicks around. I guess she takes it and then she buries Luke's lightsaber, which was Anakin's lightsaber, and her lightsaber, and then she buries Leia's lightsaber, which like barely got used in the movie.
Yeah.
You see her new lightsaber. She has a yellow lightsaber, which is worth talking about.
Yeah.
But then some like lady walks up, probably some lady who's been like taking a shit in this abandoned house's like toilet, and was like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm Rey." And
Like
then she's
Rey who?
Yeah, Rey who? And then she's like, like when you're playing a video game and you have to do a character.
You have
name,
to make up a name real quick.
and then you just stop everything you're doing.
And she
for 40
sees
minutes.
their Force ghost too.
She sees Leia and Luke.
Which I really wish you also saw Hayden Christensen's ghost.
Yeah,
That would be the perfect time.
There's a lot of complaining. I had a person complain that you don't see him at all.
The whole movie, I was hoping he would pop up.
All 3 movies, I was hoping to pop up.
Yeah, I mean, you do get to hear his voice in this one, which I guess they gave us that.
Yeah.
You do get to hear his voice.
Supposedly, he says something too when she looks out into space, right when she's dying, and she has this big moment where she connects to all the previous Jedi's, whoever existed.
Yeah, you hear Hayden's voice.
You hear a bunch of voices like the Jedi.
You hear Obi, Qui-Gon.
The chick from Anakin's apprentice.
You hear? You do hear Ahsoka's voice.
Yeah, which is probably one of those only times that something slightly non-movie related actually makes it in. Like,
you do hear Ahsoka's voice,
and supposedly someone else from the cartoon too. But I'm not.
Yeah,
super
Yoda, Qui-Gon. I was hyped. You heard Hayden.
You do hate, but I think he said something like "bring balance" like I did, or something.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Bring balance to the Force like I did, or something along those lines.
So you don't see his ghost. You see Leia and Luke, and they're in a distance. They kind of like a nod. I gotta watch it again and see if they actually nod.
You're an honorary Skywalker now.
Yeah, and then she's basically like, "I'm Rey Skywalker."
Yeah, and then you're like, "Oh, that's why it's called Rise of Skywalker." Okay.
Which is funny because to me, the Rise of Skywalker was still more of Ben Solo's death.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Because the whole movie, I'm figuring out why is it called Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, just like the Last Jedi, he's like, it's not Luke, it's Rey, I guess. But
they could have even called this movie The Last Jedi and just like, I mean, I know she's not a Jedi at the end, but
nah, she's a Jedi at the end because she makes her own lightsaber. That's like your big little.
Yeah, but she's not an actual Jedi, though. She's just like that neutral.
Because she doesn't have a robe.
Yeah. She doesn't
not
do
dressed the part.
Yeah. I mean, is she a peacekeeper of the galaxy now? Or is she just
That's how I felt about Luke
way?
Back in the day, though. It's like, who the fuck says who says you're a Jedi? Like, the Jedi Council has been gone for years. And there's no passing a test. Even, remember Anakin getting pissed off that he wasn't on the Jedi Council, but he was a Master Jedi, and it's like,
the rank of...
That's just like taking the title Skywalker, and it's like, that's just a title you take.
Yeah, now it's a title. It's not even like a lineage anymore.
I mean, that's fine. But like you said, we were saying in the beginning, like, it'd be nice to see in the future what they do with this. Like, does Rey start a school? Is it the school of Skywalkers? Maybe...
Are they...
maybe just like Darth Sidious, Darth Bane, Darth Plagueis. Like, maybe in the future, any Jedi would be something Skywalker.
Oh, I see what you
could do
mean.
Something like that. Like, have a lineage to it. So it'd be like... Rey Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker. Especially because, like, what was his mom's name? Smee or something like that? Anakin's name?
Something like that. I can't even remember.
Was her name Smee Skywalker?
It was like Simi or Smear.
Yeah, so where the fuck did the name Skywalker even come from?
Her dad? Her dad, I assume, right?
Well, because her name was in Skywalker, right?
I thought it was.
Is it?
I thought it was.
Smee Skywalker? I have to look
I assume it was. Because where did he get Skywalker from then, I assume that her name was Skywalker from whoever her father was.
So anyway, yes, there's a lineage to the name somewhere, but yeah, it could be like I said, it could be because it's a cool name, so you could do that kind of thing. And then the new Sith should be called Star Killers.
I wish Star Killer was canon.
Oh yeah,
that was the coolest story. That was the coolest story, and then they could still make a canon too. And
if anyone doesn't know, that's explain what Star Killer is
from Star Wars: The Force Unleashed video game.
Well, it's even before that because it was what
Well,
George Lucas originally was going to call Luke.
Yeah, that was their original name, was Luke Starkiller.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, that's kind of dark for our hero.
Yeah.
So let's call it Skywalker.
Even though it's badass.
Yeah.
So what they did on Force Unleashed?
Yeah, Darth Vader's secret apprentice. He trained a secret apprentice called Starkiller, and he hid it from Sidious. And the big plan was to
That's a dude
train
that pulls
him.
the destroyer out of the sky.
Yeah, yeah. Vader's big plan was to train him so they can both take on Sidious together, strike down Sidious, and then they would rule the galaxy together. But then Sidious finds out he has a secret apprentice and makes Vader kill him. And then the whole game is you trying to get back and kill Vader because he threw you away.
Classic pissy people.
Yep.
Pissy fucking Sith. They're all, a lot of people complain about the Adam Driver character because he's like very whiny. But I'm like, dude, and then okay, backtrack. I was watching Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones, and there's that scene where Anakin's talking about killing the Sand people. And my wife walks in and he's like, he's such a whiny bitch. And I'm like, and Luke was a whiny bitch too. They're all whiny bitches. Like, Luke was like, oh, I want to join the, I want to become a fighter and join the Force. And, it's like, man, power converters. Like, he's a little bitch in that. I thought he was a bitch in all three of them. Anakin's basically a bitch the whole time. He becomes so evil because he's so pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
And then Adam Driver or Kylo Ren's character, Ben Solo, is kind of bitchy. But actually, the reason why I like him is because at least you see that struggle the whole time. Like, Darth Vader, you don't see the struggle at all.
Yeah.
Until the very, very end, which is fine because it's more stoic. People have to remember that those movies were made in a different time. Like, now people want more out of movies. We talk about this all the time. You always want everyone to die in movies.
Yeah.
So it's like that was just a different era where people were more straightforward, or stories were told a lot more straightforward. Where now it's like people don't buy that anymore.
Yeah.
So like this, they're like, Rey's just too good. It's like every character, Superman, Batman, they're all just too good. That's why Marvel always did really well because those characters were more human-esque. Like Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and Peter Parker had a shitty life. And Iron Man's Tony Stark, and Tony Stark.
But even still, they live through things that they should never live
of course. Through. Yeah, that's any. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was watching, The Watchmen just finished on HBO, and I was watching like a comparison of the comic to the movie because the show is based more on the comic. And they were saying that one of the big gripes, because I didn't really read the comic till recently, was that like in the comic they're supposed to just be normal people, except for Dr. Manhattan. And in the movie, you see them just launching people, like kicking them, and they're flipping and shit. And they're like, no, the whole point was that they're just supposed to be normal people trying to be vigilantes. Mm. So you got that whole dichotomy in storytelling where you got the heroes that are just better for whatever reason. They're just born better. And then you got your characters that struggle to get that. But yeah, most of the time in like, your Matrix or your Star Wars or your, any of that stuff. Like that's why it was like Star Trek, because none of them are superpowered. They're just people. And it's politics and ships and technology, and it's more of that sci-fi, the more science fiction-y aspect of the whole story, where Star Wars is very mystical. So you want to see, and I think that's why the midichlorian thing rubbed people the wrong way for a long time, is that because it seemed to take that mysticism out. It's like, no, they want the mysticism, you want the magic, and I thought this movie did it though. I mean, I think it gave us more like mysticism, more evil. You got to see Sith home planets. You got to see this. Yes, there's some problems with the storytelling. Yes, there's some character problems. Finn doesn't really do much. He doesn't have a huge arc.
There. Yeah, he's kind of just there, running around with everyone, but not doing much for the plot.
No. Yeah, and especially for something that started off really strong, like Force Awakens. But like we were saying, they're just trying to catch up from The Last Jedi so much. Yeah. And it's like, I don't even think that was the issue, because I liked The Last Jedi. But you could just tell, like we were saying, there's just no
They had things to address.
Arc. They didn't address things correctly, or they weren't on the right path, or they weren't on like a synced path. So you kind of get these problems. So like the first one comes out, Force Awakens comes out, and everyone complains it's a rehash. Second one changes it, but like, all right, we're gonna do something different. People get pissed off about that. So the third one's like, all right, we're gonna pull it back and do all this fan service, and then everyone started getting mad about that. So it's just like
people will always get mad about everything.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams, they said in like an interview yesterday, the people asked him about all the criticism, and he's like, they're right. And he wasn't saying because he agrees with the criticism, but he's like, no matter what we did, people would have argued with it. And he's like, we knew this, every decision, like decision on the sound, the decision on the characters, decision on the writing.
If the original trilogy were to come out today, people would rip it apart.
Yeah. Watch New Hope. I mean, New Hope's
so
still
much
good,
things that,
but it's so fantasy dumbass shit.
Yeah.
Which one's you got a favorite out of all of them? I mean, we're at the end now. This is 9. We're done.
Probably.
You have the whole thing to look at now.
I really, really do love Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Return of the Jedi used to be my favorite. Because I just liked seeing the speeder bikes and the little kid aspect of the whole thing. As I got older, I don't know. And then this is something I wanted to say too. When I tried it, when I started this by saying like they were all bad. Like, like as a movie, like if you're gonna just look at it as like a film with like stories and characters and writing, they all have their own fucking problems. And the fact that people are coming out of the Rise of Skywalker freaking out when everybody came out of Rise of the Sith coming out with praise.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you. Because it did the same shit. It had the same problems. It was the same rush jobs. It was the same problems in the story. But even worse dialogue. Like, my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Like, I just saw that scene this morning. I'm like, God, that's so bad. And, but there was motion to it because you had Anakin and Obi-Wan. So people overlook all those problems. Whereas in this one, people that are kind of fatigued and don't give a shit anymore, they just want to harp on their problems. I'm like, Revenge of the Sith didn't fix any problems either. In fact, it created more problems. By the end of it, you're like, wait, why did Padme die?
Yeah.
Like, Padme died.
She just didn't want to deal with this shit anymore.
My theory is that because they were on some hospital on, like, an asteroid, they weren't really good doctors. And they're just like, the bitch died. I don't know. And the robot's
she couldn't do it.
Lost the will to live? Is that a good reason? We're mechanics. We're not doctors. So you gotta, that's what I mean. There's problems with all of them.
Yeah.
So to kind of come out and be like, this movie fucked it all up, and it's like, I think that's really unfair.
Yeah, we're trying to hide our children from Vader, make one a princess.
Yeah.
So everyone knows her.
Like, Organa's such a dick. He's like, well, I'll take one of them. What do you mean one of them? Like,
you make the other kid basically like a slave. I mean, not a slave, but
might as well
shitty lifestyle. Yeah.
You send him to a desert planet to fucking farm moisture out of the air, and another chick gets to live on a fucking planet, like a well-off, and decadent princess.
Luke gets to keep his last name too, which is kind of bananas.
Which is like, wouldn't that be a fucking clue?
Yeah.
Like
there's
Darth
someone
Vader,
out there named Skywalker.
living in the same fucking town that you grew up in.
Yeah. With the same name.
Living at your aunt and uncle's house.
Yeah.
Your adopted aunt and uncle's house or whatever. Like your step aunt and uncle. So it's like, that's what I mean. You can, at any point in Star Wars, you can just pull it apart.
Yeah.
So the idea that this movie is the one that everyone wants to pull apart, I'm like, fuck off. Because they're all like that. They're all problematic. Padme dying for no reason is stupid as shit. Anakin creating C-3PO is stupid as shit.
No.
Boba Fett being the unaltered clone to Jango Fett, who all the clones are based off of. Mandalorian. Now that doesn't make any sense with the Mandalorian show because unless they explain it, they're like, Mandalorians don't take off their helmet. They're not bitches. And
in the extended lore, the Fett name are like legendary Mandalorians, but in I forget where they say it. Maybe it's extended lore. I know it's not in the movies. Maybe it's in the Clone Wars. They actually say that the Fetts aren't Mandalorians at all. That
I've heard they're like a hated group, like a hated sect of the Mandalorians.
I forget if it was a book or if it was the Clone Wars that they say like Jango and Boba actually aren't Mandos and they just somehow like maybe killed someone and stole the armor because the armor's so good. But in the extended lore, I remember reading the comic books where there's a series, I forget what it's called, of Star Wars comics that are based like 1,000 years before like the prequels.
Okay.
And like the Fett name is like, it's like their great, grandpa, whatever it is, and he's like a legendary Mandalorian.
So
But then they change it, and now they're like, oh, they're not even Mandalorians.
Could be like, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like, and then
I think they should be Mandalorians.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, why not?
My big assumption with the Mandalorian show is that you're gonna find out that he's not part of that actual line of Mandalorians. He just got kind of adopted, and maybe that's why he's not supposed to take his helmet off because then people will know he's not a real Mandalorian or whatever. So,
I mean, because in the Clone Wars, you see like the planet. I think it's called Mandalore. Like there's like whole series where Obi-Wan was actually dating like, I don't know, like the princess or the duchess or whatever of the Mandalorian people. Like where they had a thing together. Like they go super into the Mandalorians.
Did they show the?
And they don't have their helmets on most of the time.
What's that?
Or a lot of the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars don't have their helmets on.
Yeah.
Like they're political people. Like.
But that's why I have a theory that the Mandalorian from the show, there's a reason why they don't want him to take his helmet off. Like you'll see.
Yeah, because maybe he's adopted. But you don't. But when he goes into the Mandalorian underground hut, they all have helmets on.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Star Wars at any given point has some aspect or lore change that doesn't make sense with some other lore change, and then
yeah.
So you're always kind of fucking with that like catch up.
Canon, are the Fets Mandos or no? I mean, I
don't
guess
know.
canon, I don't think they are, but
Man.
originally they were.
That's what I mean. That's one of those things that has to be explained in the new show. Maybe they'll address that, or they won't address it, or who the fuck knows. But that's just something that happens all the time, you know, like lightsabers, or you know, like when Knights of the Old Republic games and stuff came out, there was like metal that lightsabers couldn't cut through. That were like proto versions, and it's the same. I mean, you have the same problem in comic books. Anytime a lore gets that big, you know, you're gonna start running into problems. Even in the Marvel movies, there's already problems with like timelines, like Spider-Man versus Avengers and stuff like that.
The Guardians timeline.
Yeah, being before or after, and then you know Black Widow coming out soon, which has to be before her death. So you know you got. I mean, that's not a huge issue, but I'm sure it'll fuck up the timeline in some way. So
yeah,
you get a lot of that. My big takeaway from all this is it's Star Wars. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go see it again in a few hours, so I have my second viewing to go because every time a Star Wars movie comes out, I definitely go see it like as many times as I can. I will be reviewing Cats next week because for Christmas Eve...
My girl wants to see it.
I'm going Christmas Eve.
Are you?
Want to go?
I'll ask her if she
6:30 we're going. Right now, we're the only people in the theater.
I fucking hate musicals, but I told my girl she loves Cats.
I just heard it was so bad that I have a friend, my friend Brienne is like one of those people like she enjoys vicariously human suffering. Like so anytime something is like so traumatically bad, she needs to see it. And I've been watching a lot of reviews where people are like, it's even worse than we thought. And I'm just like, wouldn't that be funny to just get like lit and go see that? So that's what we're going to do Christmas Eve. We're going to go see Cats. So hopefully I'll be back with a review on that. Let me know if you want to go to that.
Rebecca was actually in a Cats play, I think in middle school or high school. She got to dress up and do the whole play.
What, like a school play?
Yeah, like a school play or something like that. Yeah. So she loves Cats, like loves it.
Yeah, my friend Brianne's boyfriend saw the play on Broadway when he was a kid. So he was like into it. So I guess he wants to go too. So I got that coming up. But yeah, I don't know, man. Star Wars, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more Star Wars. I hope they do more. I know a lot of people. I think Kathy Kennedy's definitely out. I think this is the last time you're going to hear from her kind of overseeing any of the Star Wars projects.
I wonder who would take over.
I
was going to say Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni.
I think maybe, maybe Filoni. I think
he's done great things for Star Wars.
I think they're going to give Jon Favreau a lot of reins. I think the Mandalorian show is very positive. It's very well received. A lot of people like it, especially now. Like you didn't see the last episode, but now they're actually starting to pull the plot together. It was a little worried.
I want him to have a cameo. Jon Favreau.
Yeah, like he does in Marvel.
Let's see Happy Hogan pop up.
Plus, because the whole thing with Jon Favreau was like, you know, he kind of created the MCU. I mean, not personally, but he directed Iron Man.
Yeah, he's done a lot for the MCU.
Robert Downey Jr. into it, so you got a lot of that. So he has some pull, and I think JJ, he's off with WB now, supposedly. So he's going to supposedly do some DC stuff.
And they were going to give the Game of Thrones guys a trilogy, but they pulled that.
They pulled out of that, and Rian Johnson got pulled out of that.
Out of his trilogy, which I'm very happy about.
They're saying they're not going to do any more trilogies, at least for a while. Like, they'll just do one-offs, but that just might be them being like, we want to be safe and see if something does, you know. Yeah. I'm not against another trilogy.
They give so much. They put so much stuff under wraps too in Star Wars. I mean, Obi-Wan had to be quiet for like 5 years that they're doing a show.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens. I enjoyed it. I think people need to chill the fuck out. If you're listening to this and you got this far, thank you for listening because hopefully we're, I'm just, again, all this, people are just way too negative about shit. And listen, I'm not some critic on movie, on the TV show and the nightly news who's like, I have to criticize it. Like, I could sit there and talk about the writing and the arcs and where the plot holes, but at the end of the day, listen, man, I just want to see Star Wars. I enjoyed it. I'm happy I got to see it.
Yeah, I feel like the more Star Wars we get, the better.
Yeah, and if I walk away from a Star Wars movie wanting to know more about the lore, like, I want to see that yellow lightsaber. Why is it yellow opposed to red or blue or green? How come not? My wife's like, why not purple? I'm like, well, that's only Mace Windu. It's like, if I can walk away having more questions about the world and having to figure that out, like who's Palpatine's kid, we'll find out more about that. Did he have more than one kid? Who knows? Yeah. Are there other ones out there? Who knows, man?
Are there other ones like Rey out there?
Yeah, is there other Reys? Is there more family members?
And we saw
was it concubines? Did he have a bunch of kids?
At the end of Last Jedi, we saw that kid with the broom.
Yeah, what happened to that
so there's
kid?
obviously Force sensitive people out there. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
How are they going to grow up with the Force?
I'd like to see them go farther in the future, jump more in time, and do the Jedi, have the Jedi back. Because watching the prequels again was it was cool seeing a lot of Jedis, And the Skywalker saga makes it there's only fucking 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me because with the video games and the books and the TV shows, it's like, no, there's Jedis or there's people using lightsabers everywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't get to see them.
And the prequels are the only movies that the good guys are in power.
Yeah.
All the rest is the Empire, the First Order,
Or they should do something like in the books and the old Legends lores with like there was like a species that came from another galaxy that wore like they wore like bone armor. They were like more biomechy. I want to say like
I think I know what you're
Vungan
talking
or
about.
something like that. I don't remember what they're called. But, like they had a whole war with somebody, like give us something else to fight too,
Yeah.
and then slip in Sith in there somewhere, just so we can see the red versus blue. But, I mean, that's it.
I even really want a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy.
fuck yeah.
I would love
They should make
that.
that should be a show. Like, do
Give
a
us
live
Darth-
action show like they're doing Mando.
Darth Revan, however you want to say it, Malik, all of them, Malgus. I would love to see that live action.
Yeah, I'm trust me, I'm on fucking board with that.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. Thank you
of course,
for
man.
sorry this came out a little late, but thanks for coming on and talking a little Star Wars with me. Hopefully there's something to talk about in the future. I like next week I'm probably gonna go over the end of Mandalorian, maybe in a week or two. Might have to skip for New Year's, but we'll see what happens. And we'll wrap it up. So thanks everyone listening. Thank you, Connor, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And everyone have a good day.